It seems that sometimes life works in cycles, as there are moments of adventure, clarity, and abundance, and others that are the complete opposite. Cycles like the ones we'll see in the following story. So make yourself comfortable and enjoy the following spoilers. The story begins with Ju Yan, a beautiful girl who is engaged to Shen Haoming, a member of the elite. To the public eye, their relationship seems perfect. However, Ju Yan does not love Shen Haoming, or at least not enough. One day, Ju Yan plans to surprise her mother-in-law, Yu Lan, and to do so, she decides to introduce her parents to her, who are actually actors. Unfortunately for her, Yu Lan realizes the deception, and although she is angry at first, she later feels compassion for Ju Yan when she learns that her real parents abandoned her. Later at work, Ju Yan is harassed by her boss, Ziwei, who won't stop bothering her. On one of her errands, Ju Yan is sent to a company called Jinda Group, where to her surprise, she discovers that Hao Ming is the vice president. Thus, this couple barely knows each other. A few days later, Ju Yan meets her mother-in-law again, who, along with her friends, starts judging her for not being as wealthy as they are. Angry, Ju Yan makes it clear to Yu Lan that despite her unfriendly attitude, she still cares about her. However, that's the least of it, since Ju Yan realizes that marrying a millionaire brings her numerous benefits. For example, an artist she wanted to interview only accepts the proposal because he knows her husband's identity. Later on, Hao Ming offers to help her with her work, but Ju Yan turns down the offer, saying she can handle her own career and doesn't want her success to depend on someone else. Afterwards, reflecting on things, she starts to wonder if someone like her really deserves the love of someone like Hao Ming. Ju Yan comes up with a plan to win over her mother-in-law by first infiltrating her elite social circle. There, she discovers that Mrs. Chu, the director of Lanshan Capital, holds great influence within the group, so she manages to win her over and then invites her to her talk show along with her elite friends, thus raising her own status and finally making herself acceptable to the group. On another day, Hao Ming gives Ju Yan a necklace and encourages her to pursue her dream of becoming a news anchor. A few days later, Ju Yan receives a visit from her sister Chaolin, who broke off her engagement with her husband after being harassed by her in-laws. Since Chaolin is not to her liking, she introduces her to Hao Ming as her cousin. She also makes it clear that she only considers her grandmother as her real family, completely dismissing her sister. This is because her parents have always shown favoritism toward Chaolin and on more than one occasion have neglected her. And worst of all, her father refused to pay for her college education. Overwhelmed, Ju Yan meets with Hao Ming, who, to cheer her up, shows her a plant called agave, describing it as a plant that blooms only once in a magnificent display, using up all its energy before dying. He relates the sacrifice of the agave to their love, since both are worth it despite adversity. Finally, he asks Ju Yan if she regrets anything, to which she smiles and replies that she regrets not having married him sooner. Love is just like the agave. Sometimes it blooms only once, but that one time is more than enough. A few days after our leading man struck our heroine with Cupid's arrow, Chaolin decides to return home. But at that moment, her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Chow, arrive at Ju Yan's house looking for Chaolin so she can make peace with her fiancé. Both parents confront Ju Yan, who is very scared that Hao Ming or his parents might see them. During this argument, Chaolin finds out that Ju Yan is getting married and that she lied about her parents abandoning her, so she confronts her. Faced with this, our protagonist confesses that she did it because she wanted to marry Hao Ming and didn't want her mother-in-law to look down on her. Frightened, Ju Yan visits her grandmother, who promises to prevent her parents from attending the wedding so that she can have the event she so desires without any problems. But changing the subject, an old friend of Hao Ming named Fang Lei arrives and she seems to have feelings for him. Ju Yan quickly introduces herself as Hao Ming's fiancée and invites her to be a bridesmaid at their wedding, which Fang Lei excitedly accepts. Then the wedding day arrives and everything goes very well, except for a few inconveniences, such as some of her father's friends showing up at the wedding, so Ju Yan politely asks them to leave. For her part, Fang Lei confesses her feelings to Hao Ming, who even thinks of doing that on someone's wedding day. Anyway, in the end, the guy rejects her. On another note, Ju Yan's grandmother tells her that her father has a benign tumor, so despite all the resentment, she decides to pay for his treatment. In turn, Hao Ming gives his wife a peaceful property in the city to support her career as a presenter. Under those circumstances, I'd fall in love too. A few days later, Xiaolin has an accident at work, so Juyan, not entirely convinced, decides to visit her. When she sees her humble apartment, she secretly decides to rent the room across the hall just so she can take care of her, although she claims she's only doing it to repay a childhood debt when Xiaolin defended her. What irony! The woman who faked a family is now taking care of the only person who ever hurt her. No, but at the same time, she keeps her alive. On another note, Xiaolin's fiancé, Lin Tao, discovers that his beloved in-laws used their wedding money for a business venture, and unable to find another solution, he confronts Su Yan, accusing her of manipulating her sister to deceive him. He also threatens to expose her past to his in-laws and co-workers if she doesn't return all the money. Faced with this, our young woman, worried, advises Xiaolin not to confront her fiancé and offers to pay the debt as long as she stays away for good. After this, Su-yan and Hao-ming gradually become a solid business duo. One day, Su-yan helps him secure a contract with a renowned businessman, thanks to having gained the trust of his mother. But, on the other hand, Ziwei starts to get suspicious when she realizes that her supposed parents, the actors from before who attended the wedding, look familiar to her. So she contacts one of them, named Liang Jie, and conspires to expose Su-yan. With the plan in mind, both of them attend a news program where Su-yan was invited, and in front of everyone, she introduces Liang Jie. However, he firmly denies having been at the wedding, thus frustrating Ziwei's plans. After her failure, the company director fires Ziwei, and later, Su-yan provokes her into physically attacking her in front of Hao-ming, who then sues Ziwei for workplace harassment, finally getting her revenge. Meanwhile, Su-yan's career is rising rapidly, and as a gift, her in-laws give her a necklace. Yulan assigns her the task of fixing the problems of her younger son, Hao Chen, who is struggling at school, and because of this, they want to send him abroad. However, Su-yan reassures him and promises to help him. But changing the subject, Su-yan's ex-boyfriend Jae-yuan, who is now a successful businessman, seeks to collaborate with Hao-ming, but Su-yan discovers that he is a con artist and that his company is nothing but a front, so she rejects the meeting. Later, she finds out that Hao Chen was injured during his horseback riding class, so she decides to visit him at the hospital. There, the boy behaves in a rebellious and spoiled manner. However, Su-yan takes on her role as tutor and stands firm against all his attempts to sabotage her. Little by little, Hao Chen grows fond of Su-yan, who discovers that he injured himself on purpose to get his family's attention. In order to help him, the young woman convinces Hao-ming not to send him abroad, and moreover, his parents, moved by Hao Chen's drawings in which he expresses all his loneliness, cancel their commitments and spend the entire day with him. Sometimes love isn't shown with expensive gifts, but with the patience of someone who chooses to stay when everyone else seems to run away. Or to put it more simply, material things can never replace quality time. But as if that weren't enough, Jae-yuan arrives at Hao-ming's house after having gained Yulan's trust. Su-yan acts kindly toward him as if nothing had happened between them, even though deep down her desire to keep him out of their lives grows stronger and stronger. After a lot of effort, Jae-yuan also manages to gain Hao-ming's trust and tries to convince him to invest in his medical technology company. Quote, unquote. Su-yan tries to warn her husband, but Jae-yuan threatens to expose her past if she interferes. Furthermore, later on, he corners her and asks her for money. But luckily this time, Xiaolin drives him away as a way to thank Su-yan for all her help. Later, under Jae-yuan's coercion, Su-yan's father confronts her in a hotel, accusing her of lying about her origins. Worried about what Jae-yuan might do, Su-yan decides to sell the car Hao-ming gave her and transfers money to Jae-yuan to keep him quiet. Later, Hao-ming signs a contract with Jae-yuan, who is arrested for fraud months later. Upon learning this, Hao-ming ends his cooperation and luckily loses nothing, despite his wife's constant warnings. Men. A few days later, the Yuan Hang Fund event is held where we meet Fang Lei, who is friends with a boy named Zhang Liang. She confesses everything she feels for Hao-ming. Zhang Liang and his mother become Hao-ming's new target as he wants their cooperation for the new district. Meanwhile, Lin Tao reappears this time to talk to Xiaolin, who makes it clear that she doesn't want to see him again. And back to Fang Lei, she calls Hao-ming and threatens to take her own life if he doesn't give her a chance. She also mentions her sister, who passed away some time ago. Devastated, Hao-ming takes her to a hospital and, once home and alone, he starts to cry as he remembers the tragedy involving Fang Lei's sister. If you're dying to know what happened here, don't worry. I'll probably tell you in a moment. But for now, let's change the subject. The president of Zifeng Group, Yuan Zhou, is arrested thanks to Hao-ming, who happily informs his father, Jin Song, about the situation, revealing that he did this to promote a partnership with Shuke Real Estate, which is backed by the Yuan Hang Fund. As a way to congratulate him for this achievement, his father gives him the authority to restructure the company. Immediately, Hao Ming fires several of the employees. One of them, in particular, tries to attack him with a knife because of this, but to his surprise, his wife intervenes and takes the blow. Even though he downplays the situation, Hao Ming offers her a credit card, which only increases the distance between them. On the other hand, Fang Lei reveals a big secret to Su Yan. Hao Cheng is the son of Hao Ming and her late sister, which of course breaks our protagonist's heart. After all, we know that a relationship built on secrets and lies is never a good idea. Su Yan then confronts Hao Ming, who confirms what Fang Lei said, justifying his marriage to Su Yan as a facade, all to protect his image and her professional advancement in exchange for her cooperation. He also confesses that he stopped caring for her after discovering all her lies and clarifies that all the gifts he gave her were merely rewards for her good performance in keeping up appearances. Ouch! Well, what's fair is fair, and both of them were lying. Even so, devastated, she decides to keep pretending their romance to protect both their careers, though she promises that once she can, they'll get divorced. And here I was thinking everything was going great. Well, a few days later, Hao Ming fires Fang Lei, who once again threatens to take her own life. He doesn't care anymore, blaming her for having revealed Hao Cheng's secret. During a charity gala, Su Yan and Fang Lei have a tense exchange when Su Yan wins a diamond ring at auction, leaving Hao Ming in shock and convinced that Su Yan had finally revealed her true intentions. One day, Su Yan's grandmother suffers a stroke, which could end her life at any moment. Devastated, our protagonist decides that it's time to put an end to all the lies. Even though she had agreed with Hao Ming to keep pretending their romance for a while longer, she gives him divorce papers, returns everything he ever gave her, and refuses any kind of financial support. Finally, she stands her ground with dignity. At first, our leading man refuses, but Su Yan shows him a recording where Fang Lei declares that she will win over Hao Ming no matter what it takes. Su Yan moves into a smaller house, and it doesn't take long for Ziwei to find out about the divorce, so she starts spreading rumors that threaten our girl's career. One day, the young woman receives an anonymous report about her falsified family background, which leads her to decide to resign from her job and start completely from scratch. Since her in-laws also found out about all the lies, Su Yan tells them the truth about her family. Yulan and Jin Song accept her apology, but on the condition that she keeps this a secret until she divorces their son. Regarding the divorce, Hao Ming drafts a supplementary divorce agreement in which he forbids Su Yan from making public statements without his approval, something she ultimately accepts without any trouble. Hao Ming's life also begins to fall apart little by little as his father banishes him from the board of directors for being immature, dishonest, and because of his scandalous marriage, sending him to a project in another city. Meanwhile, Su Yan gets a job as a live stream host, but her formal style doesn't fit with the show's aggressive sales approach, which leads to her being assigned as a co-host. But despite the initial problems, Hao Ming does his best to excel at his job. For example, when he realizes there are serious issues with the construction, he confronts the workers and gives them individual contracts to ensure quality. This causes the veteran subcontractors to walk away from the project. Meanwhile, Su Yan gets a solo live stream promoting chicken feet. And although things go well for her, some misunderstandings and an incident of online harassment lead to her being reassigned to a sales point in a supermarket. Later, we find out that Fang Li and her friends are responsible for the harassment against Su Yan, which infuriates Yulan, who fiercely defends her former daughter-in-law, recalling her own humble origins. Together with other people, they buy out all of Su Yan's products in the supermarket until they're sold out. Seeing Su Yan's situation, Hao Ming decides to help her. He offers to get her job as a presenter back and even gives her money, but she rejects everything, arguing that after a divorce, they should become enemies. Su Yan's boss starts treating her better after finding out that she belongs to the Shen family. However, she decides to quit since the salary was negligible and she feels used by her boss. Her unemployment doesn't last long, as her sister gets her a job at a friend's clothing store, where our girl soon wins everyone's appreciation by restructuring the brand and making changes to the clothing designs to make them more versatile, which attracts more customers and, consequently, more money. Meanwhile, at the construction site, Hao Ming faces a group of local thugs who are seeking bribes and trying to delay the construction. Determined to put an end to all this conflict, he investigates one of these thugs and convinces him to invest in the project, arguing that the money he would earn would greatly benefit his community. The owner of the clothing brand is worried about the project's lack of profits, which later makes Soo-yan feel guilty, prompting her to secretly look for investors. One of them is Jian Liang, who approaches Soo-yan and criticizes her designs, although on the bright side, he also offers to help her. On another note, Hao Ming needs Soo-yan's help to partner with a Russian tycoon named Mr. Barakin, who is known for valuing family harmony. So, what better way to convince him than by introducing him to his perfect and loving wife? In the end, our protagonist agrees but demands 1 million yuan for the service, which leaves Hao Ming with no choice but to accept. Both go to the resort where the tycoon is staying and immediately catch his attention by displaying their seemingly perfect relationship. Good thing they supposedly didn't want to lie anymore. Later on, Mr. Barakin invites them to meet that night. Both take part in a game called Couples in Sync, during which Soo-yan takes the opportunity to drop a few hints. But despite all their hard work, a man named Steve sabotages Hao Ming's plans for the collaboration with Mr. Barakin, so our couple hurries to solve this problem. First, they show the Barakins their room decorated with balloons and other details that make it clear Soo-yan and Hao Ming are a couple. Steve, still hanging around, talks about the rumors of this couple's divorce and their lack of time together at the resort. In response, our two, already prepared, make up an excuse and show off their marital bedroom. As a final attack, Steve points out that the couple isn't wearing their engagement rings, which leads Hao Ming to improvise a clever excuse. He admits they've gone through marital problems and, on his knees, asks Soo-yan for forgiveness with a ring. She doesn't hesitate to forgive him, and in the end, they kiss. Seeing this beautiful gesture, Mr. Barakin agrees to collaborate with them. For the first time, the ring doesn't seal a contract, but an apology. And that kiss is the signature that neither of them dared to write. Did they really forgive each other, or was it all just part of the show? But despite this small step forward in their relationship, things behind the scenes are still a mess. Our couple has a heated argument inside Hao Ming's car about company matters and their relationship. And one of Soo-yan's strongest confessions is that his previous partners also gave him gifts, so everything Hao Ming has given him means nothing to him. After this, he leaves, but not before confirming the date of the divorce. On another note, their clothing brand is growing rapidly. At the same time, Hao Ming meets with his father and talks to him about his ideas for the company. Jin Sung, impressed, promises him a seat on the board if he manages to secure the alliance with Mr. Barakin. Desperate to avoid the divorce, Hao Ming lies to his family about a business trip to Russia and pretends to be sick in the hospital so that Soo-yan will take care of him. That very day, the divorce was supposed to be signed, so he does everything possible not to leave the hospital and thus avoid the divorce appointment. At one point, Xiaolin advises Soo-yan to reconsider her relationship with Hao Ming, although she completely disagrees, since she believes their relationship was only for business. However, upon reflecting, she realizes that Hao Ming has shown that he truly cares for her on several occasions. During these days, the young woman continues to visit Hao Chen, who is happy to see her. This is noticed by Yulan, who begs her son to do whatever it takes to win our girl back. So before getting down to business, our leading man meets with Soo-yan's ex named Ji Ming, who has felt jealous because of his close relationship with our protagonist. However, nothing could be further from the truth. Ji Ming is now dating Xiaolin. With this misunderstanding resolved, Hao Ming confesses that he has always been in love with Soo-yan, but he doesn't know how to win her back. A few days later, Soo-yan receives a call from Hao Chen's teacher, inviting her to a parent-teacher meeting the following week. She doesn't hesitate to accept, though she also thinks it would be wise for Hao Ming to come with her, so she sends him a message. Instead of replying with a message, he rushes over to her house to tell her in person that he will go to the meeting, this time with a calmer and more cheerful attitude, which amuses our beloved a little. Hao Ming gets information from Xiaolin about a business meeting between Soo-yan and Jian Liang, whom he doesn't consider very trustworthy, so he goes to the meeting place and warns his mistress to be very careful with this. Hao Ming's attempt to win Soo-yan back isn't limited to just going to a meeting or protecting her. He also helps her with her business. One day, the delivery truck for Soo-yan's store breaks down, so our leading man heads over to the truck and helps the team unload the merchandise. Soo-yan watches him and, although she doesn't express her gratitude, she feels happy for his help. She tells him not to go after Jian Liang, even though she understands his concern and lets him sleep on her lap once they finish the work. Upon receiving the clothes, they discover that the quality is lower than expected, and a smear campaign begins on social media. Even though Jian Liang offers her help, Soo-yan refuses and encourages her team to work hard to solve these problems. She also meets with a well-known fashion designer who loves her designs and invites her to a design competition that promises to take her creations to the next level. Without hesitation, the young woman and her entire team get to work, and together they create a spectacular dress. However, the bad reputation continues to follow her, which somewhat demotivates her team. Therefore, Hao Ming, hoping to help her, gives an interview in which he defends his wife. After this, public opinion changes completely, and the brand receives a great deal of support. Thanks to this, the group enters the competition. Later, during a dinner, Su Yan chats cheerfully with Xian Liang, which angers Hao Ming, who tries to toast with her several times without any success. Humiliated and very upset, he toasts to Su Yuan in front of everyone before going off to drink. To both of their surprise, the next morning they wake up together in the same bed. Yulan sees them together and immediately invites Su Yan to an event. Su Yan is happy with the new direction her relationship with Hao Ming is taking. However, one day she sees him talking with Mr. King, which convinces her that her husband is only using her for this contract. Encouraged by what his assistant tells him, our protagonist travels to the city of Gubei to relax at a folk festival. By coincidence, Su Yan also goes to that city for work-related matters, so they both attend a botanical dyeing class, where Hao Ming convinces her to be his class partner. Although at first they argue about things from the past, he admits that he is there for her, hoping they can find something in common. Together, they later visit Master Chu, a retired craftsman who refuses to share his designs. They discover that he left the craft after his divorce since his ex-wife possessed the unique skill of dyeing. This story makes them reflect on their own lives, Hao Ming about his controlling past, and Su Yan about her feelings. After this, Su Yan visits Mrs. Chu, Master Chu's ex-wife, and learns that her ex-husband holds resentment toward her for being the only one capable of dyeing the perfect shade of blue. After hearing both sides of the story, our main couple comes up with a plan to help this pair reconcile, using a lost hairpin to encourage their meeting. When they start arguing, Hao Ming steps in and confesses his own mistakes and regrets, which ultimately prompts the couple to reconcile. That night, Hao Ming publicly confesses his love for Su Yan, apologizing for his past behavior, and she, with a smile on her face, forgives him. The two of them also reconcile with a passionate kiss. It's not about forgetting the past, that's impossible, but about truly forgiving each other, or at least enough to rebuild and leave the ruins behind. Unfortunately, not everything is perfect. We know this as well, since Steve leaks the news that Hao Chen is Hao Ming's illegitimate son, affecting not only the company but also the entire family. After several events, our leading man declares that yes, he is indeed Hao Chen's father, and Su Yan claims to be his mother in order to protect them. However, this is the least of their problems, since a shareholder named Chu Zu claims to have the majority of the shares and therefore demands Hao Ming's resignation. As a result of this huge problem, Jin Song falls seriously ill, while Hao Chen suffers from nervous breakdowns due to the stress and harassment from all the journalists. For this reason, Yulan leaves them in the care of Su Yan and Hao Ming, who is trying to find a way for the boy to accept him as his father. At first, they go to Su Yan's grandmother's house, where she teaches him to work on her farm. There, little by little, father and son improve their relationship as they chase chickens and shell corn. One night, Hao Chen gets lost when he goes out to buy water, but fortunately, Hao Ming finds him, scolds him, and then takes him back home. This further improves their relationship and, most importantly, makes the little boy see him for who he truly is, his father. Over time, things start to get better for the couple as Hao Ming manages to overthrow Chu Zu, who leaves the company in defeat. Later on, Jin Song reveals that he faked his illness to deceive Chu Zu, which was a very important revelation. However, nothing compares to the bombshell that comes next. Feng Lei, deeply remorseful for her past actions, confesses to the couple that Hao Chen is not actually Hao Ming's son. It turns out that her real son died, and not wanting to lose her relationship, she got pregnant by another man and pretended nothing had happened. What? This breaks Hao Ming's heart, but even so, he tears up the DNA test and says that Hao Chen will always be his son. Despite this harsh revelation, things between the couple don't really change, as Su Yan and Hao Ming propose a new project with great potential. Thanks to this, Hao Ming is brought onto the board of directors. In the end, the relationship between our couple grows stronger again, and Su Yan also reconciles with her own parents. In this way, both families are happy and the story comes to an end. In a society that measures worth by last names, Su Yan reminds us of something simple yet brutal. Appearances can give you power, but only the truth brings you peace. She lied to be accepted and ended up discovering that the only thing she needed was to accept herself. And Hao Ming, for his part, learned that love can't be bought or controlled. It is cared for, healed, and chosen every day, even when there are no contracts involved anymore. And that's how the drama ends. But if you think the love between our protagonists was complicated, just wait until you hear the next story. So don't just stick with this one, click on another video.